you're representing the people beside you. You respect them by getting prepared to play the best you can play.
And the Aggies take the field here at Kyle Field.
Another Travion Williams first down and plenty more. Blocking downfield from Osborne. Travion Williams takes it inside the 20, and he'll take it to the end zone. 73 yards.
Absolutely nothing at that line of scrimmage. In the end zone, touchdown, Aggie!
You're not going to be given anything. You're going to have to earn everything you get. We have to rise to the level of our confidence in ourselves.
Mon looking in zone. Lodge, caught, touchdown, Chase Sternberger.
It's the matchup everyone's been talking about, Texas A&M and Clemson. The eyes of the college football world will be on Kyle Field tonight as the Aggies look to knock off the number 2 team in the country.
For head coach Jimbo Fisher, it's a bit of deja vu. He's gone head-to-head with Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers 8 times, winning 4.
Will win number 5 against Clemson come tonight? Will the Aggies pull off the upset? We'll find out the answers to all those questions tonight. But first, it's time to get you ready for kickoff. Aggie Game Day starts now.
Live from Texas A&M in the heart of the Aggie fan zone and from the Alumni Center, home of the Association of Former Students. Aggie Game Day, sponsored by Signature Care Emergency Center and your Texas Best Chevy dealers. Now, from KBTX, your official Aggie sports station, Clemson takes on Texas A&M. This is Aggie Game Day.
Good evening and welcome to Aggie Game Day, presented by Signature Care, your Texas Best Chevy dealers. There is certainly an electricity in the air, and some of that might be actually lightning. We hope it stays away. The Aggies getting ready to face number 2 Clemson tonight here at Kyle Field.
Clemson is the highest-ranked non-conference opponent to ever come to Kyle Field. The previous highest-ranked team was the 1987 LSU squad. That was ranked number 6.
Texas A&M 2-7 all-time versus teams ranked number 2 in the AP poll. The Aggies' last win over a second-ranked team came back in 1998 when Texas A&M played 3 second-ranked teams that season. The Maroon and White opened the year with a loss to Florida State in the Kickoff Classic in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Fast forward to October 10th, that's when the Aggies beat second-ranked Nebraska 28-21 right here at Kyle Field. 2 months later in St. Louis, Texas A&M beat second-ranked Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game in double overtime, thanks to a Brandon Stewart touchdown pass to Sir Parker.
The last time the Aggie fans saw their team beat a top 5 team at Kyle Field was back in 2002 when the A&M topped number 1 Oklahoma.
We are going to spend the next hour getting you ready for the Texas A&M Clemson matchup. We got a lot of different angles to take a look at tonight, and it starts with the opening drive.
The opening drive, sponsored by Brenham Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
The Texas A&M offense will have to deal with Clemson's front 4, known as the Power Rangers, and they may be the best front 4 in the country. That means Aggie quarterback Kellen Mond could be under pressure tonight, so his performance will be key. Mond will have to make good decisions and not turn the ball over, which is easier said than done against this Tiger defense. In the season opener last week against Northwestern State, Mond did not turn the ball over. He threw for 184 yards and 2 touchdowns and ran for another score.
Clemson will likely play 2 quarterbacks tonight, but both will have an opportunity to throw to wide receiver Hunter Renfro. He had 3 catches for 24 yards in the Tigers' season opener last weekend. Those may not be big numbers, but Renfro has had a big career. He led the Tigers in receptions last season with 60. In the Tigers' 2017 National Championship game against Alabama, he caught 10 passes for 92 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Our team of Aggie Game Day analysts are with Cody Coyle to continue our breakdown of tonight's game. We check in with Cody and Aggie quarterback Stephen McGee. Hey, fellas.
Hey, thanks, guys. Steven, last week, Kellen Mond, not about adding and little over a half a play, but tonight a totally different challenge. How do you expect Mond to handle that Clemson defense?
Well, he's a cool, calm, collected guy. I think that's one of the strengths of his game. I don't think he'll be overwhelmed in this environment. He's a big-time recruit. He's played in a lot of big games, probably none bigger than this, but he's got to rely and trust on those other 10 guys. He doesn't have to win the game alone today. That offensive line, the running game, those are going to be his protectors today.
Time now to switch sides of the ball and talk a little bit of defense. Go back to Daryl and John.
Thank you, Cody. Aggie linebacker Tyrell Dodson tied for the team lead in tackles against Northwestern State last week with 4. He will need another solid performance tonight to help Texas A&M pull off the upset, that is. Dodson played well in the Aggies' 3 games against ranked opponents last year against number 1 Alabama. He recorded a career-high 16 tackles against 15th-ranked Auburn. Dodson finished with 14 tackles, and against 19th-ranked LSU, he had 10 tackles.
Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell posted 3 tackles and a sack in the Tigers' season opener, but he has had a chance to be a major factor in tonight's game. Last season, Farrell was an AP first-team All-American after posting some huge numbers. In 2017, finished with 63 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, and 12 quarterback pressures. For more on the defenses in tonight's ball game, we go back to Cody Coyle and the coach, Alan Waddell.
Thanks, guys. Coach Tyrell Dodson and Cleveland Farrell, just 2 of many very talented players that will be playing defense on Kyle Field tonight. Do you think we're in for a game where the defense dominates things?
I think so. I think it's going to need to be a low-scoring game for the Aggies to be in it. There's no doubt. There's going to be able to who can put the pressure on the other team's quarterback and make plays that way. I think turnovers are going to be very important. And I think the other important factor for our defense is that the 12th man up in the stands in the fourth quarter. It gets awful noisy. We got a good chance.
We have heard from the analysts. Time now to hear from the teams, and for that we send it back over to Daryl and John.
Thank you again, Cody. Texas A&M is 1-0 on the season after last week's 59-7 win over Northwestern State. That game had a lot of hype surrounding it because it was Jimbo Fisher's debut as the head coach at Texas A&M. This week, the buzz is even bigger with the number 2 team in the country in town, and the players expect to play in a great environment this evening at Kyle Field.
Definitely one of those moments you've dreamed about since you're growing up, especially being at JUCO. We talked about these type of games, like why you go to a university, so it's going to be a great opportunity for us.
I think it's going to be phenomenal. I know we had a lot of good atmospheres last year, but I think no matter what, this is going to top it off.
Clemson opened the 2018 season last Saturday with a 48-7 win over Furman. Tonight will be the Tigers' first road game of the season. They'll be looking for their first victory in the Lone Star State since winning the 1959 Bluebonnet Bowl. The Clemson program has played just 12 games in the state of Texas, but Tiger head coach Dabo Swinney knows what it's like to face a Jimbo Fisher team after facing him during Fisher's time at Florida State.
He'll have his guys ready and new energy, new chemistry, new schemes on both sides of the ball. So big challenge, but something that we're really looking forward to for our team. What I'm looking for is to see our team, go on the road and stay focused and display our experience that we have. And adjust to the adversity that's going to be within the game, because there's going to be adversity.
Tonight will be the 5th meeting between Texas A&M and Clemson on the football field. The Aggies lead the all-time series 3-1. The Tigers' lone victory in the series came in the last meeting between the two programs back in 2005. Clemson won 25-24 at home. The Tigers' last trip to Kyle Field was back in 2004. The Aggies won that game 27-6. Courtney Lewis ran for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game.
Jobs like this don't come along very often. It took 33 years for this one to open. But A&M's a national brand in my eyes. You know who, no matter where you are in the country, you know about A&M.
New Texas A&M radio play-by-play announcer Andrew Monaco has some big shoes to fill, but he's no stranger to big moments or big games. Later in the show, we will hear from the newest voice of the Aggies.
And it's a game so big, the governor of Texas decided to come watch just ahead. Carla Castillo talks a little football with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. More Aggie Game Day is headed your way next.
This is Aggie Game Day. In the Zone, sponsored by Brenham Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram.
Welcome back to Aggie Game Day, and you want to know how big tonight's game at Kyle Field is? The governor of Texas is here, and Governor Greg Abbott is actually here with us now to join us for the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
It
we know
is
you
a
are
pleasure.
A busy man.
Well, and think about this. I'm a Longhorn, but I'm not at the Longhorn game. I'm at the Texas A&M game, saying Gig 'em Aggies playing against Clemson. This is a big deal with the crowds here. This is a very exciting time for Texas A&M.
We are so glad you were here. You've been to A&M games before. Of course, you're handling the opening coin toss this evening. What makes college football so special?
It's the spirit, and nowhere do you see that spirit like you do at Kyle Field. Think of the crowd excitement, the fans, the noise, the enthusiasm, and the players know that, they feel that. But to see everyone cheering and so raucous, it's a lot of fun.
And you are the leader of arguably the most football-hungry state in the nation. Why do you think Texas, the state of Texas, and football go hand in hand?
Well, it starts in the early years, in the Pee Wee League, playing and punt, pass, and kick, all those kinds of things, and then 7-on-7 drills and high school football, Friday Night Lights. There's a TV show made about high school football in Texas, and it leads to college football. And look at all the tailgating. As I drove around the campus, the entire campus area, you have people out fun. So this is part football, part culture, maybe part religion, and a whole lot of food and fun.
In spite of all the rain, right?
And rain will not dampen our spirit whatsoever.
And of course, we know Texas A&M has some great athletic programs here, but last year you chose Texas A&M and the state agencies it runs to help lead the recovery efforts following Hurricane Harvey. Tell me why you made that decision.
Well, listen, this was 1 year ago almost to the day that I tapped Chancellor John Sharp to be in charge of Rebuild Texas. In part because of his experience and his leadership skills, far greater, or let's say, it spans farther than just the university. He has contacts across the state. He grew up in the region in Victoria, but also what the Texas A&M system provides with the county agents who can serve the people in those regions. We would not be where we are today had it not been for the help of Chancellor John Sharp and Texas A&M University in the rebuilding process.
And boy, have we come a long way in 1 year. Hard to believe.
And listen, understand this, because I know there's some people viewing who are not back in their homes yet, who are still suffering. However, things are better today than they were this time last year. This time next year, they're going to be far better than they are today.
All right, and you mentioned it earlier. We won't say it too loud. There's more Aggie fans here. You're a UT grad, but you're wearing maroon now, so
I'm
that's
proud
what
to say
matters.
it. I'm in maroon. I'm saying Gig 'em Aggies. Go Aggies, beat Clemson.
So you were quite familiar with the UT A&M rivalry. Personally, would you like to see that rivalry return?
Yes, I do. I want to see the Texas A&M rivalry renewed. It is time. They need to be playing each other.
Yeah, okay. I think a lot of people here will agree. Okay, we can't let you go without hearing your prediction. Score prediction if you've got one. How do you think the Aggies will fare tonight?
Aggies are going to play great. They're ready for the game. I predict it's going to be, let's say, 28-24.
Okay.
Texas A&M.
All right, Governor, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We hope you have a wonderful time, and come back anytime.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you so much. Oh, wait, before we go, I'm so sorry. This is not anything dangerous. Howdy buttons. We've got to get you a howdy button.
There we go.
These are tradition here at A&M. We have brand new ones every single year. So come back next year and get the new KBTX howdy button.
Howdy from the governor to you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Well, a little rain hasn't stopped any Aggies from coming out and tailgating this week. Coming up, we'll check in at one of those tailgates and answer this week's fan feedback question.
All right, and be sure to stick around, because coming up after the break, we are going to hear from the Houston Chronicles' Brent Zwerneman. He's going to give us his opinion on how the Aggies will fare against Clemson. Stick around, plenty more Aggie Game Day after this.
Live from SEC Country, this is Aggie Game Day. From KBTX News 3, this is your Aggie Game Day forecast.
Well, we got the sports guys all outdoors outside of Kyle Field, and I am in the Hall of Champions, so I'm dry for the time being, and so is everybody else outside of Kyle Field. Let's go ahead and get you right to the radar because we have got some showers moving into the area right now. Some of it has crossed the Brazos River, moving into southern Brazos County, so that's a good about 10-minute drive away from campus right now. We'll go ahead and put that in motion for you and show you the arrival time of it. It will be probably about 20 minutes from now, so I do think that the kickoff could start a little bit wet, but so far we are not finding any lightning in the cell, at least for the past 20 minutes or so. If we were to zoom out, Erica Page is in the Weather Center right now. Erica, if you could zoom out and kind of show what else is going on across the area. There is a flash flood watch in effect for just about the entire Brazos Valley, but so far the heaviest rain has been off to our north and west. Let's go ahead and get a look outside. The rain-cooled air has certainly helped us, as when it hasn't been sunny, we've been feeling like the mid to low 80s. So all in all, temperature's not bad. We're going to take a closer look at the radar coming up in just a bit. Back to y'all.
The atmosphere is one thing that I think everybody else kind of looks forward to. I think the fans are looking forward to this game. I know we are. So just another opportunity, come and show what we can do against another really good team.
Hard to believe, but the Clemson Tigers have never played in front of 100,000 fans. There will be more than that at Kyle Field tonight as the 12th man is ready to go. You're looking live outside the stadium through the lens of the Allen Samuels fan cam. Welcome back to Aggie Game Day. We're 30 minutes or so away from kickoff between the Aggies and the Clemson Tigers, and to add some insight into tonight's ball game, we welcome in Brent Zwerneman of the Houston Chronicle and the San Antonio Express News. And Brent, first of all, I don't think the heavy stuff is going to come down for quite some time, maybe by the time you finish this interview, but last week's game against Northwestern State, kind of your takeaway on that.
You know, I did want to say he does know the Brazos River isn't that far from here, right? When he said it's crossing the Brazos River this way. That game was exactly what the Aggies wanted, what they hoped for under a new coach and Jimbo Fisher. More than 500 yards rushing offense, 758 yards total, second best in school history. So, yeah, they, relatively injury-free. All the things you could ask for. They were fortunate to get an opponent like Northwestern State. I will say, and this pains my heart as a Southland guy, but they're not just a bad college football team. They're a bad Southland team, a bad FCS team. So we'll have a lot more idea of where the Aggies stand tonight.
Travion Williams was a big topic of conversation in the offseason. He goes for 240 in that opener. Do we think we've seen the Travion of old maybe returning in this offense?
Huge key that he's staying healthy. Just, last year he went for over 200 in the season opener. Next thing you know, he was banged up, and he just wasn't the same guy he was as a true freshman. To get 240 yards is saying something. That's second only to 297 by Bob Smith a long time ago. And you know that Travion loves having that fullback in front of him as well. And that's going to be a big key tonight. They're going to be giving the ball to Travion over and over. Even if he's not breaking off the big yards early, then they're just going to keep feeding him and hope that he gets it going to open things up.
Kellen Mond last week, nearly perfect. I mean, he completes 68% of his passes, throws a couple of touchdowns. What's the offense got to do with him to continue to be successful in tonight's game against Clemson? Because certainly the level of competition is stepping up a bit.
I really like his demeanor, and we're going to see it on full display tonight. He's very cool. He did exactly what they hoped for him. One of the things that was a little bit concerning was, and Jimbo Fisher addressed it this week, two guys were right in his face before he could do anything. 2 sacks, which is 2 more than the Aggies had. But overall, the reason he won this job to begin with and had the edge on Nick Starkel is because he is more elusive, and he absolutely has to be that tonight against obviously a much, much better Clemson team.
One thing he'll have at his disposal tonight that they haven't had in years past is a tight end. He showed that he likes the tight end, Jay Sternberger, with a couple of touchdown catches last week. How nice is it that he has that young man in the offense right now?
Okay, at how many stadiums across the nation last week were the loudest cheers for a tight end when he caught the ball? But it was certainly the case here. Jay Sternberger had 5 catches. A&M tight ends last year had 7 the entire season. He had 2 touchdown catches. That's 2 more than they had all of last season. So it was neat to see. He's a guy. I'm gonna go in the Wayback Machine here and mention a guy that he reminds me of, Greg Porter. Very athletic, can play a little receiver if he has to. You don't necessarily have to get him off the field if you're not going with tight ends. It's good to see an athlete like that in that position for the Aggies.
For Texas A&M to pull off the upset, what do they have to do tonight to win?
I'm going to go back to the aforementioned Travion Williams. They've got to just keep giving him the ball. On the flip side of the ball, you got Kingsley Kiki needs to have a big game. Daylon Mack has to have a strong game to help those guys out behind him. There's no doubt about it. And Travion, though, to me, is the number one key in this game for the Aggies.
All right, Brent, thank you very much for your insight and for stopping by. Do you have a prediction? Governor Abbott says the Aggies will win 28-24. Now, that may be with some maroon-colored glasses on for a guy that went to school at Texas.
Burnt orange-colored glasses, yeah. But he knows Aggies vote, too. And, I picked this one. I think the Aggies hang in this one, but I think Clemson 33-27, I think, is what I picked it.
It would be a fun environment in here tonight if the Aggies are in this one and have a one-score game in the fourth quarter, I think, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Brent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are going to check in with our analyst on the way back as we check in with Cody Coyle, Alan Waddell, and Stephen McGee and get a closer look at the Aggies matchup against the Clemson Tigers.
You're watching Aggie Game Day on your official Aggie Sports Station.
Aggie Game Day from the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center, home of the Association of Former Students, is sponsored by your Texas Best Chevy dealers. Now back to more Aggie Game Day.
To be a championship team and to play at a high level consistently week in, week out, you have to reach your own levels and do your own thing and understand how to compete at the levels you have to. And don't worry about the scoreboard, don't worry about your opponent. You got to respect yourself and your teammates by how you prepare. You respect them by getting prepared to play the best you can play.
Welcome back to Aggie Game Day. We're about a half hour away from kickoff between Texas A&M and number 2 Clemson. Former Texas A&M quarterback Stephen McGee and former Texas A&M linebackers coach Alan Waddell back with me to break down the game, tonight's big matchup. Stephen, as we get closer to the game, what are the players thinking about in the locker room? What are they feeling right now?
I'm sure there's a little bit of anxiousness. If you're not excited, if you're not a little bit nervous, then you're not in the right business. So whoever says that they're not nervous going into a game like this is probably lying. But, hey, you're locked in. You're worried about your job. What do I have to do to help my team be successful today? What's my matchup look like? And just going over all those game plans Coach Waddell puts in.
Coach, how about the coaches? Are they nervous at this time? And what might they tell the players to calm the locker room down a little bit?
The hay is in the barn. The job has been done. It's their job is to get the players calmed down and let's go out and play and have fun. The games, this is what it's all about. This is what you coach for. It's what you play for, to play in games like this, in places like this. So relax. It's a memory. I remember it was 20 years ago I was here we played Nebraska, and RC did a great job of keeping us loose, keeping us ready to go, getting the coaches relaxed. The coaches relaxed, the press box are on the field, could do a better job of coaching also.
Stephen, what did you learn about the Aggie offense in the win last week?
Really impressed. Do a lot of different things, a lot of different looks. Obviously adding the tight end, been a lot of talk about that. But you could see the immediate impact that those guys have on this offense, the matchups they create in the pass game. And then today, really important, creating a long edge for those pass rushers. Help those tackles, give presence there so they don't have a free run at Kellen. That's going to be really important, getting a lot of different personnel groups to help create those matchups and not let this defensive line have its way.
Coach, Northwestern State only put 7 points on the Aggie defense last week. What jumped out to you about the play in the game from the A&M defense?
Technique. We swarmed to the ball. We maintained our gaps, which we have had problems in the past doing. The secondary was solid. The one touchdown, we actually just fell down. It wasn't a break or that. So we were very solid. We played fundamentally sound football. We blitzed when we needed to. We controlled the tempo, and we did our assignment. That was the biggest key.
Stephen, Travion Williams, 240 yards last week. We knew he'd play a big role in Jimbo Fisher's offense, but did you think it would be this good this soon?
Oh, absolutely not. Put on some weight, but you still saw that explosiveness. He didn't give up any of the speed in the open space. Tonight, probably the most important game of his career. He's going to have to make people miss in the box. They're not going to block everybody. It's not going to be clean on all the plays. He's not going to have the space he did last week, and he's got to use that athletic ability both in the run game but in the pass game. I expect him to create some matchups and help Kellen get the ball out of his hands quickly. He needs to have the best game of his career tonight if the Aggies are going to have a chance.
Coach, Clemson has seen Florida State and Jimbo Fisher the last 8 seasons. They beat them 31-14 last year. Will that help them at all tonight as they prepare for Jimbo with the Aggies?
Well, Jimbo can't play, neither can Dabo. It's going to be the players have to make plays. But I really think that Jimbo's got the advantage because Jimbo saw this personnel that's going to be on the field for Clemson. They saw a lot of that last year. whereas Coach Sweeney has not seen the Aggie personnel up front, how they're going to react. So I really think that Jimbo's got a slight edge in the matchup situation. They're both outstanding coaches. You're not going to out-coach Dabo Sweeney. You're not going to out-coach Jimbo Fisher.
Stephen, last week 11 different Aggie receivers, tight ends, running backs, whatever, caught a pass in the offense last week. How do you think the passing game's working so far under Jimbo Fisher?
Well, very efficient. You saw a lot of quick game stuff, got the ball out of the quarterback's hands, but then a lot of passes over the top of coverage too, and I expect them to try to stretch coverage. I expect Clemson to come after Kellen last week. Northwestern State had some success and got home. I expect Clemson to try to do some of the same, even though they can get home with 4. If you can get a clean rusher at the quarterback and try to create a turnover, I expect them to do that. So I was very impressed with the wide receiver group. Courtney Davis, Jamon Osborne looked really good.
Coach, one thing the Aggie defense did not do last week is force a turnover. How important is that tonight for them to be able to think about beating Clemson?
It's going to be very hard to win a football game like this if you don't win the turnover battle. Yeah. You know, what we've got to do is we've got to everybody talks about their defensive line against our offensive line. I think the big battle is going to be our defensive line against their offensive line. And can we control the line of scrimmage, get to the ball, and get some turnovers, force the quarterback to throw the ball when he doesn't want to, get a reception or two, and flip the field position with turnovers.
Coach, Stephen, appreciate your time. We'll hear more from you a little bit later in the show. Not trying to take Max's job, but raindrops coming down just a little bit here. Aggies and Clemson, one of 12 games being played today around the SEC. For a look at what's happening around the rest of the conference, we send it back to Daryl and John.
Thank you, Cody. First up is 18th ranked Mississippi State facing Kansas State in the Little Apple. Second quarter, Bulldogs add to a 10-0 lead on Kylan Hill's 28-yard touchdown run. That followed up his 16-yard TD reception earlier in the quarter. Mississippi State led 17-3 at the break. Nick Fitzgerald playing in his first game of the season for State and throws a strike to Austin Williams for a 13-yard touchdown. Mississippi State goes on to beat Kansas State by the final of 31-10.
Vanderbilt was a winner over Nevada, 41-10 earlier today. Top-ranked Alabama led it 40-0 at the half, and they are cruising 50-7 in the fourth.
The only game between two SEC teams today is 24th-ranked South Carolina hosting number 3 Georgia. This one all Bulldogs. They lead it 41-10. Ole Miss losing to Southern Illinois 38-35.
Tennessee leads East Tennessee State. That's 38-0 at the half. 11th-ranked LSU will face Southeastern Louisiana at 6 o'clock tonight. The game will be televised on ESPN2.
Missouri will host Wyoming at 6 o'clock on ESPNU. Number 7 Auburn will face Alabama State at 6:30. You can watch that game on the SEC Network's alternate channel.
Arkansas is on the road tonight, taking on Colorado State. That game kicks at 6:30 on the CBS Sports Network. Kentucky and 25th-ranked Florida also start at 6:30. That game will be televised on the SEC Network.
This is a legacy job, if you ask me. It's great what I've done in the past. This is something even bigger, and truly I believe it's a legacy job for me.
The broadcast booth is where Andrew Monaco feels right at home. When we return, we will hear from Whitney Miller, who spent some time with the Aggies' new radio play-by-play man.
And it wouldn't be Aggie Game Day without some time travel. Cody Coyle dusts off the old sports tapes and takes us back to this weekend in Aggie football history with the Old Army Rewind.
Getting you warmed up for kickoff. This is Aggie Game Day. Getting you warmed up for kickoff. This is Aggie Game Day.
You can try to get prepared for Kyle Field, but whenever you experience for the first time, you just got to embrace it. So running out of that tunnel, it was like, whoa, this is big boy football.
The first sellout crowd since 2016 is descending on Kyle Field to watch the Aggies and Tigers. You're looking at the pregame scene through the lens of the Allen Samuels fan cam.
After a nationwide search, the Texas Aggies have a new voice. As Whitney Miller reports, the university calls new play-by-play announcer Andrew Monaco, who made his debut last week against Northwestern State, a world-class professional who can bring a game to life.
Gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the new voice of the Aggies, my new broadcast partner, Andrew Monaco.
From high above Kyle Field, Andrew Monaco is making his presence known.
Keeps across the goal line, touchdown Aggies.
Monaco is the university's new play-by-play broadcaster for Aggie football and basketball.
Jobs like this don't come along very often. It took 33 years for this one to open. But A&M's a national brand in my eyes. You know who, no matter where you are in the country, you know about A&M.
He's replacing longtime announcer Dave South.
And when you think about whether it's Aggie football or Aggie basketball, you hear Dave South. You knew immediately it was Aggie sports, and he was a big part of that.
Although he's new to A&M, he's not new to the broadcast game. Monaco is known for his time as a San Antonio Spurs sideline reporter. He even called games for the Orlando Magic and the WNBA.
I'm thankful for the 16 years that I worked with that crew and the other 13 in Orlando. It got me to this point. Everything that I've learned or been taught or been mentored has really paid off now.
With his coffee in hand and his notes nearby, Monaco says he's well equipped to help bring the game to life for fans near and far.
I think it's just a special job, and that's what made it so attractive. And then to be here with not just the loyal fans, but I think this community.
Monaco says he hopes his time at A&M is a lifetime achievement.
No brainer for me, absolutely not. This is a legacy job, if you ask me. It's great what I've done in the past. This is something even bigger.
Dave South announced his retirement from football and basketball last summer. You can still catch him calling A&M baseball games this spring. South was the voice of the Aggies since 1985. Well, you know, it is a good pregame spot when it's known simply as the tailgate. Jessica Grundling spent some time grilling and chilling with this great group of Ags. Plus, she'll have this week's fan feedback question.
He wasn't a national champion then, but 15 years ago, Texas A&M topped Urban Meyer and the Utah Utes at Kyle Field. We'll look back at that ball game and more later in the old Army Rewind.
Fan Feedback, sponsored by C&J Barbecue.
Well, we are braving the elements out here on West Campus tailgates, getting ready for, of course, the Clemson matchup, and we are at, it's simply called the tailgate.
The tailgate.
So, guys, how are we feeling right now getting ready for this game?
We're feeling great. We're really excited. It's kind of wet, but we're glad everybody's here. We got a pretty good turnout this week. We're really excited for the game. We're really pumped to see what Jimbo and the team put together today.
All right, so tell me about this tailgate. You know, it's simply called the tailgate. So how did it get its name? How did this get started?
It got its name because we couldn't come up with a better name, and so we're like, it's just the tailgate. And it got started because whenever I married his daughter, they had like a tray of vegetables and maybe sandwiches for the guys. It's in the tailgate. And so we grew it, and now we've got this. We've got, I think, 30, 40 people that decided to come, and everybody else just showed up. So it grew from nothing, not a lot, to something that's just big family tailgate. One big trade to a big sponsored tailgate with a bunch of different sponsors here locally. So
awesome. So always a good time.
It is. It's great.
So tell me what we're cooking up. I saw a ton of food that looks and smells great over there.
We've got his championship-winning pork belly burnt ends. We've got a pulled pork. We've got a brisket. We just pulled off some sausage from the Grhalski Sausage Company. They're one of our sponsors. And we're always serving some Rio Brazos whiskey here, made here in College Station. We've got a full bar with that. They're set up over here, plus a whole bunch of sides that everybody contributes.
Awesome. All right, so now we're going to ask you the trivia question, the fan feedback question of the week, and that is Jimbo Fisher has faced off against Clemson 8 times. How many wins does he have against the Tigers? 3, 6, 4, or 2?
4, but it'll be 5 after tonight. Because today we're going to do 5 after tonight for sure.
Yes, 4 is the correct answer. And our fan feedback trivia winner for the week is David Miner from Anderson. For his prediction, he's going home with a tailgate prize pack that feeds 10. It includes 2 meats and 2 sides of your choosing, and it's courtesy of our friends over at C&J's Barbecue. So guys, let's enjoy this rainy game day, I guess.
We'll make the best of it. I mean, it's great. Yeah, we'll love it. Yeah.
Cody, let's send it back to you guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica. This week, the Aggies, of course, taking on Dabo Sweeney, and he and Jimbo Fisher, two of four coaches who have national championships under their belt. Another one is Urban Meyer. Back when he was head coach at Utah, he and his Utes paid a visit to Kyle Field this weekend 15 years ago. We take a look back at that game and more in this week's Old Army Rewind. Turn back the clock 5 years and you'll find an Aggie win over Sam Houston State. Johnny Manziel was dominant against the Bearcats, throwing for 426 yards and 3 touchdowns and running for another score, all in less than 3 quarters of work in a 65-28 Texas A&M victory. This week, 10 years ago, Texas A&M picked up a 28-22 win at New Mexico. The Aggies built a 21-7 halftime lead, thanks in part to a pair of Gerard Johnson to Jeff Fuller touchdown passes. Johnson added a third TD pass in the second half, this one to Jamie McCoy. Lobos made a late run but couldn't complete the comeback. This week, 15 years ago, the Aggies pulled out a close win over Utah. Texas A&M jumped on the Utes early. Terrence Murphy with the 80-yard touchdown run. The Aggies led at 21-0 at the half. But Utah made a second-half run with A&M up 28-20. Brett Elliott found John Madsen for a 45-yard touchdown with 8 seconds left. The Utes went for 2 to tie it, but Elliott was stopped short of the end zone. The Aggies held on to win 28-26. 25 years ago in 1993, the 5th-ranked Aggies played at number 17 Oklahoma. It was the two teams' first meeting since 1951. This one was all OU. The Sooners jumped out to a 20-0 lead and never looked back. Cale Gundy threw a pair of touchdown passes and ran for another. The Oklahoma defense forced 6 Aggie turnovers in a 44-14 win. This week, 30 years back, the 11th-ranked Aggies had a long day at 17th-ranked LSU. The A&M offense turned the ball over 4 times in a 27-0 loss to the Tigers. This Ron Sancho pick-6 gave the Bayou Bengals a 12-0 first-quarter lead, and they never looked back on their way to handing the Ags their second loss of the season. So you've heard from us the last hour. Now we give you, the fans, a chance to sound off on today's matchup. The 2-minute warning is next on Aggie Game Day.
The tradition continues. This is Aggie Game Day. The 2-minute warning, sponsored by the Association of Former Students.
Welcome back to Aggie Game Day. It is 2-minute warning time, and the rain has started falling, but the fans are going to have to sit through it, and Bubba and Shane, representing Texas A&M and Clemson, are very kind enough to sit here with us and go for the 2-minute warning. You guys are representing your teams. Bubba, you are the visitor, so we will start with you tonight.
Hang on a second. That's my travel agent with some information on my trip to Santa Clara for the national championship game. So we got to get that straightened out.
Well, if you're going to get there, you got to get by this one, and history isn't a good indication. Your team hasn't won in this state since 1959. Why does that change tonight?
Well, because it was 1959, John.
Very good.
But the big news is this. In the last 10 years, Clemson has won 100 football games. In the last 7 years, 7 straight 10-win seasons, 3 straight visits to the Final Four. Okay. And, of course, I just happen to have my ticket hanging for this national championship banner here. So with Coach Sweeney and the culture of best is the standard, I believe we're going to turn things around here in Kyle Field tonight.
All right, that's a strong argument, but Shane, you can make the numbers and spin them however you want, but the number that matters tonight is 12. How big a factor is the 12th man in this game tonight?
The 12th man is huge. With the home advantage that the Aggies have, and the 12th man in Kyle Field, the Aggies have a huge advantage tonight, especially with the crowd factor that we have.
Your team has experience playing a Jimbo Fisher team, but not at Texas A&M. Do you think that experience helps tonight?
Yes and no. I think it helps in the fact that you've got film on a Jim Fisher coach team. Offensively is going to be very similar, but the problem with that, John and Shane, is that there's personnel that the Tigers aren't familiar with. So that is an issue. However, there's personnel that Clemson has that is a whole nother level and some of the best that's ever been seen in college football.
All right, there's been some Wimbo Jimbo when he's been at Florida State against Clemson. Do you think there's a Wimbo Jimbo here tonight?
Absolutely. I think Jimbo Fisher is huge. I think he's going to lead our team to a victory tonight.
All right, nice work. Thank you, boys, for sitting in the rain. Shake hands and wish each other luck.
Good luck, Shane.
Good luck to you.
Go Tigers.
And while they do that,
Kick
we
'em,
will
Aggies.
check it in with Max and find out how long this rain is going to hang out. Hey, Max.
Thanks a lot, John. Always love a good 2-minute warning. Yeah, in the dry Hall of Champions right now, but we are seeing rain there outside of campus. And as we take a live eye look outside, right over the Association of Former Students, look really closely, you can find some rain there too. It does look like the rain rate's about to pick up just a touch. If we move that in motion, you can see it's moving off to the north and east. This little patch of that cell is right about to get onto Kyle Field right as we get to kickoff. Now, the good news is that we're not seeing any lightning as of right now, so that could change. And we're going to be watching that for you. Chief Meteorologist Shell Winkley is under Kyle Field right now, monitoring that as well. And as of right now, I've been told that kickoff is scheduled as planned. So that could change here within the next 10 minutes or so. But as of right now, it looks like we are going to get this thing started, whether or not it is raining. And I can tell you that it is probably going to keep on raining. Let's zoom out again real quick and show you a wide view of the Brazos Valley. And you can see a general weakening trend over most of the showers and storms over our area. So the hope is that continues. We will be watching those storms that are about to move into Lee County here within the next hour or so. That could be our next potential chance for some showers and maybe a thunderstorm as we get closer to the end of the game, where the rain chance kind of comes back up again through the overnight. So we'll continue to watch that. Either way, it is going to be a soggy start to the game at Kyle Field. Cody?
Well, thank you, Max, and shout out to both weather guys for being indoors while we're out here outside. Steven, Coach, what's the biggest key? What is the one thing the Aggies have to do to pull off this upset victory tonight? Steven, you go first.
Well, turnovers, obviously in the rain now, is going to be a really important stat to watch, especially early in the game. Whoever wins that turnover battle generally has a good chance of winning the game. A&M has got to run the ball tonight. I want them to get 150 yards if they're going to have a chance.
What we've got to do is stay close in the fourth quarter, keep the crowd in the game, find a way to make a play or two then. And I think the big thing is our defensive line has to hold up and dominate, make them be a one-dimensional football team.
Gentlemen, appreciate your time as always tonight. We hope you enjoyed week 2 of Aggie Game Day, and we hope that you end up enjoying game 2 of the season for the Aggies against Clemson even more. Stay with us for News 3 at 10. We will wrap it all up from here at Kyle Field. Thank you for watching Aggie Game Day. So long from Kyle Field.